Actors who were selected for a role described as ugly, how did that part feel to play? I got a role once for being ugly and obese. I was okay with it. I know what I am. And the paycheck certainly salved any sad feelings I might have had. Ha. My mother had a casting call that specifically told her to just roll out of bed and not wear makeup. She is in position in a bedroom and the scene begins. It's a detective noir theme with the protagonist actively narrating his actions via asides. He walks in, I'm in a room full of unattractive women. A buddy of mine was told he couldn't get a good guy part because he wasn't handsome, has very plain looking. It messed him up a bit, but he rebounded now does props for shows like The Walking Dead was even one of the walkers. He seems legitimately happy now. Edit didn't know this until someone brought it up, that this was one of the top comments. My first ever thanks for the upvotes guys, it means a lot. I had spent a couple of months trying to get a talent agency to work with me and was excited to finally get signed up. After a month of anxiously checking my emails, I decided to call them. It's hard to get a booking without a professional headshot. I recommend creating a more appealing portfolio. Sure, good advice, I thought. Not a knock on my appearance at all. So I booked a shoot and uploaded my headshots a week later. My excitement when I received a casting call was impossible to contain. My agent said I had been picked by the director himself to replace a role at short notice, and would I be available for a 16-hour shoot tomorrow morning from 6 AM. Hell yes, I was. I just asked for the location and wardrobe, to which I was told just turn up, and it will all be provided. The scene details would be emailed to me immediately. I raced to my laptop and opened the attachment. Underworld resident, dead, face down in a field, that was it. The lead actor stepped over me 12 times to get the take right. It had rained the night before, and my face was numb from the Vancouver fall morning. No one saw me because the hood of my costume covered my face. I smiled the whole time. It was my first ever role. Took a role as the comedy relief / homely sister for a shitty play where I was a butt of most of the jokes. It kind of killed my self-esteem during rehearsals, especially since the girl playing my supposedly Hollywood starlet-esque sister liked to brag about being the center of attention and getting a bunch of solos. But I'd put work into the role nonetheless and tried to have fun with it as best I could. When it came time to actually perform on stage, I got the most laughs and the most praise after each showing, while my sister awkwardly stood off to the side. In the end, it didn't feel so bad after all. I do some acting here in Los Angeles. Usually, garbage man, or mechanic, or hardware store guy. I get calls for diabetes medication commercials. That's kind of depressing. Other than that, I don't mind. We all have a type. And I get to work with people who I have idolized my whole life sometimes. The thrill of being on a movie or TV set far overcomes any self-conscious feelings I might have, because I look like a shabby nobody. And when I die, my kids will be able to see me on Netflix or wherever, doing something I really loved. I wish I got to do it a lot more often. But I'm grateful for everything that has come my way because of how I look. My wife is super cute, and she doesn't mind how I look, so that's really all that matters to me at the end of the day. I wasn't assigned an ugly role, but I was told that I look snarky. The director and producer both told me, at a first glance, you look like a major dick. I wasn't exactly flattered by this, but it helped me land my first acting gig, so I dunno. I do background / extras type acting, and despite being later 30s, average everything woman, I get more work than a hot college girl, because I look more like the average diner customer, mom in a grocery store, wife of older biker gang member at a wedding, weathered bartender etc. that most movies and TV shows need. I don't mind in the least. Sure, I'm not sharing any on-screen kisses with whatever A-list actor, but guess what? I got to meet them and that's cool as fuck to me. There's ugly, and then there's Hollywood ugly. Had a friend who played Beast in Beauty and the Beast in high school, and there was a kissing scene at the end that involved Beast and Belle, but since my friend, Beast, was butt-ass ugly, the actress playing Belle didn't want to kiss him, so they got a different actor to do the kissing scene as the post-Beast Prince, and LMAO, my friend was so fucking pissed and insulted. He had the Beast costume on the whole show, so no one saw him. They only saw the transformed prince. Other actor, who kisses Belle in the end, had a buddy who was an aspiring actor. He would fall in the Steve Buscemi realm of ugly/odd looking. He knew exactly what kind of roles he would be chosen for and purposely kept his hair and beard in an unkempt manner. I know a guy who got the part in a major motion picture that was described as albino looking inbred kid. It launched his career. There is that one actress, Lucy Punch, who is not ugly in the least, who has made a career of playing the evil stepsister in every Cinderella type movie she possibly can, because she loves playing that role so much. Even if it's supposed to be an ugly role. I really don't think actors care. I had never amounted to anything in my life, so when the time came I knew that I was born for this moment. It wasn't ugly per se, but I showed up thinking I was an extra wandering through a fertility clinic, put extra work into my makeup and amp hair because you never know, and there was a slight scene switch. I was tapped to play woman giving birth, so the first thing the crew did was mess up my hair and make it look like my makeup was running. I ad-libbed a few lines during the 2 hours it took to capture my 25 seconds on screen, but I got in the credits. Most actors really won't give a shit, as long as their name is in the credits and they get a check. A select few will be insulted, but the acting scene is so incredibly competitive. If you were an up-and-coming actor and had the choice of being a co-star in a major movie where you had to play someone who was ugly, or being in a much smaller, lesser heard of film, almost any actor would put their ego aside and pick the first option. Not me, but was in an Uber once with an actor who told me he was always typecast as a shitty guy, either like a domestic abuser, serial killer, psychopath, or crackhead. I asked if it affected him psychologically, and he said no, but it pissed his mom off that her beautiful baby boy was a dirtbag to the rest of the world. Lol. A while back, there was some griping that Renee Z wasn't chubby enough to play the lead role in Bridget Jones' Diary. But I couldn't imagine anyone else in that role either. Edit. Even having gained weight for the role, fans of the book were still saying she didn't look the part. Peter Dinklage got the role as Tyrion, who is supposed to be pretty damn ugly. He nailed the role and no one even remembered he was supposed to be pretty grotesque. There's a scene in Home Alone where Kevin whiffs at a picture of his brother's ugly girlfriend. The producers decided not to insult some young girl by putting her into that role just to be laughed at, and instead the art director had a son who was more than willing to put on an ugly girl look. Already ugly, might as well get paid for it. I was once cast as a at least month-old dead elderly man. I was a 16-year-old girl at the time. The only shirt that fit me was grossly too big, so they made me wear a fat suit. I also met my first boyfriend's family dressed as a rotting fat old dude, so just regular high school theater stuff. It depends. Sometimes you get selected to play ugly with the knowledge that you will be dressed and made up to be ugly. Sometimes the role is straight or more serious, but if it's meaty, it's rewarding, even if the process is demanding. If it's someone like the Thenardiers where the ugly is comedic and made up, then it's a blast. If you're selected to be ugly, it's hard to say. Most breakdowns I've ever seen don't specify so brutally. And it also depends on what the casting directors see in you. I've gone out for femme fatale, and I've gone out for trailer trash mom. I've played a hard-living hooker, and played a refined, high society love interest. It's just hard to say, because the role can be transformative, and because the breakdown/casting isn't usually so brutal as to be "you're so ugly, you're perfect for this part." Usually, it just feels like work. I mean, I'll take it if I get the money. You should ask Kevin Malone. I'm an actor, but I wouldn't say an ugly one. Just average. Casting calls are hilarious with the ways they describe female characters. There's usually a height requirement with the otherworldly beautiful woman roles, and I'm 5'2", so that's out the window anyway. Movie roles are usually more of that, but I get a lot of commercial work where I respond to casting calls like pretty, but not a model. Still kind of bums me out, but I know where I'll be cast, and I want the paycheck. I still work consistently, so I guess it's not so bad, but just once I wish I could get a call back for the unattainable goddess role. A director asked me a few months before holding auditions for his play if I would stop trimming my beard and cutting my hair. He cautioned that it didn't mean I was cast, but he'd simply like me to keep it in mind. Obviously, I went full natural. I didn't want to tell anyone I'd been asked to do it in case I wasn't cast. As things started looking wild, friends kept begging me to clean myself up. I'm not ridiculously good looking, but I'm alright looking and youthful when clean shaven, and I could feel people begin to treat me differently. I'm gay, and my sex life suffered. It became very isolating to feel that sort of superficial distance for the first time. I was only in my early 20s when I looked in the mirror. I didn't recognize myself. It started to shake my confidence, but I was committed to the journey. I eventually was cast in the play as a homeless alcoholic. My character entered the play at the top of the second act, got drunk, fabricated colorfully long-winded stories, and remained on stage uninterrupted until the curtain. I lived and breathed that role, and I was completely humbled by the praise I received for my work. It changed my life, my friend group changed, my tastes changed, my identity shifted, it altered how I perceived myself. When you get into the world of acting, you're told certain things about yourself by people trying to help. They might sound insulting, but you shouldn't take them that way. The goal is to get work, so you push certain aspects of yourself to be whatever it is that they want for the role you're going for. It doesn't mean that's who you are. You aren't being told that you're ugly just because you were cast as an ugly person. You're actually just being told that you can play an ugly person. It might not sound like that big of a distinction, but it is. That's the world of acting, and if you can't handle people saying things about what they see when they look at you, then you probably shouldn't be in it. It's definitely not for the fragile. I got paid and got to have fun playing an interesting character. I'm an actor because I basically get a high off performing and playing characters. There's nothing else in the world like it. I'm not worried about how handsome they are.